Alright y'all, so with the recent Gekishin Squadra updates, we saw changes to a couple of different Divine Combo cards, and I thought, what better time than now to do an updated little guide. So we're going to be ranking these all in a tier list, and we'll go down the list one by one. We'll be talking about why they're good or bad, and breaking down how they actually will work in battle, so that you guys can get a best understanding of what cards you want to use. At the end of the video, I'll be showing off my presets, and these presets will show you which cards may synergize the best with each other. You could of course let me know what you guys are running in the comment section below. I think it'd be good just to get a general idea of how people feel about these Divine Combo cards as well. This is just coming from my experience from them. Maybe someone else has a different experience with them, but with all that being said, let's hop right into the tier list itself. It's funny, I actually had to crop these out from this page here, so it took some time, but we got it done. Speaking of this first card here, Lightning Swift. It sucks. Lightning Swift, you know, I think a lot of people may think it's slightly better than it is, especially if you're new to the game, but the thing about this card, it's very situational. The biggest thing about it is that you have to use your Vanishing Step. This is just such a turn off for me because you want to use your Vanishing Step defensively 9 out of 10 times. Very rarely are you going to use your Vanishing Step for an offensive purpose. And you would only use that Vanishing Step if you know I could kill this person 100% and gain something from it by using my defensive tool. And there has to be basically no enemies around that could just jump me for it. Many situations, or stipulations that you have to have for it. Then on top of that, you only do key damage for 2 seconds. It is just so many conditions for it, some said, some unsaid, that it's just not worth using this card 9 out of 10 times. I think, no, 10 out of 10 times you're not ever using this. Snowball is the next card here, and it is just better in every sense of the way. It increases the power of all your attacks, so any damage you do will be increased. It is not conditional. It does not have a time frame either. So you will enter a battle, if you have any snowball stacks, you have that damage for the entirety of the fights, which will just end up allowing you to do more damage overall to an enemy. Now, you do need a KO or assist on an enemy hero, but that's the thing about this card. It benefits you for making good plays. If you're making good plays and you're winning the game, you will get a benefit from having Snowball. Even if you get killed and you're a little behind, if you make the smart plays in mid-game, you can then catch them at levels potentially, and if you get a good play in, you could get Snowball stack, which will allow you to make an even better comeback than before. So Snowball is such a good card in general. I think it's very easy to get it, and it just will give you so much value compared to Lightning Swifts. You could argue that because Lightning Swift is so bad, it artificially bumps Snowball up for your first damage card, but it is kind of true. A Snowball is just better in every single way. So next we have Buildup. I almost put Buildup low S or A tier, and there's not specifically a low or high within the same tier, but I would have pointed it out. Buildup's issue before, in season 3, after it initially got its nerf, was that it took so long to get it maxed out. But now there's way more farm around the map with the recent changes. Farm spawns more commonly, essentially, and again, by getting the enemy NPCs kills, every 3 KOs or assists specifically will get you 1 build-up stack. It is just gonna allow this to get really nice by the end of a fight, where you're able to decently consistently get this maxed out if you know what you're doing and if you're making the right plays. The only thing about build-up is I feel early game it's a little weak, but I mean that's the whole point of the card in that sense. It's just, even when you have a couple of stacks on this, I feel you could just get melted so easily by many DPSs. So technically maybe this could use a buff, but I'm not sure what I would change about it. Maybe make it only need 10 times to get maxed out or something like that could be a good idea, or 12 times, if it could stack up a little faster, I think it'll just make tanks feel slightly better, because I feel like a lot of tanks just get melted or whatever the case may be. But this card is also an S tier because this card sucks. Too easy. Like, there was a period of moment where people ran too easy in season 3 just because the build-up nerfs were so bad, but build-up just ended up being generally better anyways because it is unconditional, and we got more farm on the map anyway, so that helped it out quite a bit. Too easy, you get extra HP for 2 seconds. Every 30 seconds once you fall under 50% HP. You used to be able to like switch this in. Let's say your early game, you're about to die, you're maybe a character that has lower HP. I don't want to lose here. I know I can get an advantage on the enemy if you give myself this card to get the extra HP. You could do that, then win the interaction, and then get all the farm, keep a level advantage, etc. You guys get the drill. But now fights last so long and there's so much farm around that even if you die early on, it's just not worth switching into too easy for something like Buildup or Snowball or whatever card you're using, depending on which character you're trying out. And it's just not good enough, honestly. I think this is a pretty weak card. You do not want to use this 9 out of 10 times. At least probably has more use than like Lightning Swifts. But like, it's yeah, that's pretty much it. Next we have Strategic Escape, which I will rank an A tier. Strategic Escape is generally a pretty good card. It actually is one of the cards that got buffed. I don't think it needed a buff. We could talk about this, but you could have argued this card could have been even higher on the tier list, like an S rank. But there's a change that was made to another card that we'll talk about in a bit. Now, Strategic Escape is pretty easy. Your back is turned to an enemy hero. You're able to get a movement speed buff. This allows you to attack enemy guided instructions, then get out of the situation a lot faster. This allows you to like go into a fight, apply like a debuff, or if you're technical or something, then escape pretty easily, especially since technicals have very fast movement speed. I think this is most commonly used on either technicals or even certain tanks. Tanks are a bit slower. It's just that you might want to use build up for tanks 9 out of 10 times, but this in certain situations you could actually use. So that's why it's still like generally a good card to use. And there's not really much to say that's bad about it. It does its purpose and it does it well, so it is what it is. Gekishin High is really interesting because it's a good card. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, Gekishin High is a bad card by any means, but it's like, how to explain it? It's a very powerful card. In fact, I would say like the effect itself is one of the best effects of any of these cards ever. It's like an S rank effect. But the issue is it's very obvious. You could see what cards your enemy has by clicking the tab button if you're on keyboard or mouse. And I believe you can do it on controller as well, by the way. I just don't know the exact like control for it. You see the enemy has Gekishin High. Okay, I'm gonna really heavily guard my tower and just be super defensive. If that's the case, then they can't even use this card because you have to land a Gekishin Burst successfully. You have to let the full charge go through. If you get interrupted, you're not gonna get this effect, which makes it a useless card. But the effect is so good that you want to, like, I can't rank it lower than this tier that I have it currently in. There's no way. But another thing that you can do is, let's say at the end of a game, it's like kind of stalematy, but then you get 2 or 3 kills off the enemy team. You rush in for the tower. Maybe they have a tower advantage. You could switch one of these cards if you have enough card energy for Gekishin High. Then you're gonna do a lot more damage faster before they will be able to resurrect, and that could be a game-winning strategy. Now, usually technicals and tank characters would be the ones that would switch over rather than the DPS, but it depends, like, you know, or maybe your technical character or tank character has a lot of build-up stacks. Maybe you as a DPS just don't even have any snowball stacks in general, or you have enough card energy to even switch back after you use it. That's fine too. But this card can be good in specific situations at the end of a game where I think it is deserving of A tier, even though its effect is arguably like, I mean, could you say the effect is like D tier? arguably, yes. If you land a full burst, it is like a Z tier type of card. It's that good. But that being said, let's hop over to the second row of cards here. So this is Giant Slayer. It is a very consistent, good damage card. You will deal damage in proportion in proportion to their max HP until the end of that fight. So that entire interaction, you will get a consistent damage boost when you hit an enemy with 80% or more HP. This will just give you a lot of damage in general, and I think it is just a good card. I will put in S tier. Not much to say, it is just a consistent damage card. You could arguably say, oh, maybe I don't like Snowball because I feel like it's a little too inconsistent for me. Certain characters, maybe I will decide to go build up and then I go Giant Slayer to get a consistent damage while getting a little bit of extra defense. That's something you could arguably do, right? But again, we'll talk about that as we get to the different combinations of cards. Next, we have Prepare to Die. Another S rank card. The very funny thing about this card here is that it actually got buffed. It used to be pretty bad, I would argue, but if you take a look here, and again, we could also see that, you know, Strategic Escape was buffed 1.5 seconds or 1.5 meters per second to 2 meters per second. It is nice, like it helps it out. But Prepare to Die used to do 15% damage, now it does 20%, which is a decent increase. But the effect when target lasts at least 2 seconds was increased from 25 to 35% damage. So that is a pretty significant increase. 10% here and even 5% like is still good. But you're just going to be doing so much extra damage with Prepare to Die now. It really helps it out. And the effect of the card was never really bad. It's just that I don't think it did enough. And again, it is still a little situational in comparison to Giant Slayer. But this, it does so much extra damage now, man. Especially with the different characters we have. And I feel like Giant Slayer is like better for characters that are burst damage. But we also have a lot of characters now that are like, not necessarily, oh, we burst you down in one hit, but rather we do continuous damage too. This could be really good for melee characters. I think this is just a good damage card now, which is really nice for it. I mean, again, this is, like I said, really good for like continuous damage characters or melee characters as well. Like it is just so nice to have Giant Slayer like this. It's very effective. I think that you could do some really nasty things with it. So Prepare to Die, man. Like, what a glow up, I would argue. What a glow up, Prepare to Die. Because before I would say this is like a, I mean, arguably like B, C tier, but now you got some juice with you. That damage boost was really useful. Next, we do have Steel Skin. Steel Skin is a card I'd probably put here. And, you know, I think I'll also put I almost said Snowball, Solid Barrier there as well. So these are the two defensive cards in the second tier. Steel Skin, I think, is a good card for some of the better tanks in the game, specifically Bardock, who is the best tank in the game right now. This will allow him to reduce damage a set amount per hit. And, you know, this can even be good specifically against Prepare to Die, honestly, because again, Prepare to Die activates when you're under 50% or HP, or the enemy hero is under 50% HP. So, unlike Barrier, which you would lose after that would happen for the most part, Steel Skin, it's just like every single attack you take will just be reduced, right? But on top of that, it works really well with characters who have a defensive passives baked in. So let's take a look at Bardock, who I think is one of the better tanks right now. In fact, I think he's probably just the best tank right now. He gets less damage here. So he has damage reduction with his revenge gauge. Let's take a look at a character like Caulifla, who also could really use this really well. She gets damage reduction against enemies who are provoked. I feel like Khalifa's in a pretty good spot right now myself, but that's just me personally. Steel Skin is just like good for characters in team fights in comparison to Solid Barrier. Now, Solid Barrier is still really good for characters that could just pop in and hit you with a lot of damage instantly. So, I mean, let's say Super Saiyan 3 Goku could just IT on you and do a lot of damage. Solid Barrier could be a good option for many characters who don't have a lot of HP. Like, you're not going to want to go Steel Skin on a character like Kale, who has very little HP and just like escapability. You might want to go a card like this, which will help her just defend against Super Saiyan 3 Goku from ITing on her and just instantly killing her, right? That could really suck. So I think both of these are actually comparable depending on the situation, unlike like these two cards. But I wouldn't say either of these cards are necessarily broken or like crazy. They're just both good, generally good cards, right? Specifically, like Barrier is probably just not that in that great of a spot. If it wasn't for like Super Saiyan 3 Goku existing, I don't think many characters would actually use Barrier at this point, which is really funny. But it is, Super Saiyan 3 Goku is meta right now. So I think right now Barrier is just by default looking a lot better for that. Next, we have Art of Decoy. This is another card that got buffed, and the glow up is crazy. I think it was always a good card for like ratting and stuff like that. I think you could run a, for example, Strategic Escape plus Art of Decoy. But now its buff just makes it insane. You get 100% Vanishing Step cooldown recovery speed, which means that you just get your Vanish back, and the effect lasts for 6 seconds. How this activates is by getting obstructed by an enemy hero. So any single debuff that you receive, attack down, defense down, you get blinded, you get, you know, maybe even stunned for a period of time, like anything that happens to you that counts as a debuff will activate Art of Decoy. And I think as the game has evolved, we've been getting more and more characters that have these obstruction effects. Like, let's think of technical characters that are really good. Frieza has an obstruction effect. Like, you know, in fact, we'll literally go down the line here. We'll look at technical characters here, but like, obviously technicals are all about obstructing you. Frieza applies status debuffs to you. He has a bind. Kid Buu status debuffs. Ultimate Gohan does that. Gotenks does that. Hit does that. 17 even does that on his ultimate, for example. Like Frieza, I believe he even Frieza like applies debuffs, I believe. You ever see here? Strike defense down, movement speed defense down, right? Or movement speed down, my bad. I can't read apparently. It's really good right now. Even like I feel like you could use this even on tanks right now. It's so good, especially because like what happens with tanks now is really funny. I'm probably gonna make a video on this like this week, but I feel like the roles between how tanks and technicals operate kind of switched around a little. But this card is so good. It's just such an effective card. And Epic Hunter, it's another card I would say is arguably S rank right here. The thing about Epic Hunter is it gives you a 40% damage increase against bosses. And I feel like the thing is, this card is kind of similar-ish to like Geki High, but I feel like you're gonna like, it's not like the enemy can necessarily stop you in a sense where they can stop you and like by holding up defense. Like this boosts damage to boss for 4 seconds when you deal damage with a boss under 50% or less HP. This is really good at multiple characters that are DPS specifically, but I think the biggest character that this could benefit is actually God Goku, because God Goku will just like ult on the boss from like far away, and if the boss is under HP condition, which I think most times you're going to use God Goku's ult, they're under 50% HP, you're going to get this extra damage and just nuke the boss. It's situational, but you know, I think late game when if you get enough card energy, you can switch over to this and it just allows you to do so much damage. Or even throughout the game, you could just get Epic Hunter and just continue to just focus on bosses, because guys, guess what, bosses are really important in this game. Again, we can see specifically Jacko and Ribrianne late game. You want Jacko really badly, or you just might want either of them to get triple boss. If you're winning bosses, like, how to explain this? You actually get reduced damage against bosses the more you kill them. So, for example, each boss will give you basically 25 like damage reduction. Specifically, how to explain it? You do 25% less damage to them, up to 50%. So, if you get Nappa and Gekishin, say Jacko spawns, you will deal less damage. And that does matter, by the way, because it just allows the enemy team to be able to get the boss more easily, which is something you guys may experience. But that's why Epic Hunter could be really good for that. It can combat that, or let's say you are losing you really need the boss to prevent triple boss, you can switch over your middle card to Epic Hunter. That could be a really good strategy. So I think this card actually does benefit quite a lot in the meta, more so because it got really heavily buffed. It does way more damage now than it used to, so that is a really good thing about Epic Hunter. We're kind of like from a 0 to hero perspective, which is nice. Next we have Wicked Warrior. I think this is just like a very mid card. Like, I just don't think it's really a good card. I feel like I could take a look here. I guess I could do like, would I put it here or here? I guess certain characters that are rush attack reliant can use this, and I feel like you would use it over other characters or some of these cards down here. I don't think that there's really a reason to, for the most part. Pursuer also just is pretty mediocre, honestly. Like, it gives you a nice boost. I mean, guys, I'll be honest here, just to talk about it. Most of these third cards just get mogged. Like, most of these third cards just get mogged by a certain card here. But yeah, Pursuer, it's like, it's nice, but it just gets mogged. Like, okay, I'll talk about this now. Defense Step, I think, is the best card in the game. This card is absolutely insane. Remember earlier I talked about how, Lightning Swift, you need to use your Vanish Step? Well, same thing for this, except this is for a defensive purpose, which is like way better because, like I said, you're going to want to save your Vanishes for defensive purposes. And this card plays in hand with this card being a little bit worse even. You get 75% reduction for 2 seconds. Then you still have a good amount of damage reduction for the last 2 seconds after, once you use a Vanish Step. You use Defense Step and you could live anything in the game pretty much. Like, Defense Step will carry you. Defense Step is kind of like an on-command Solid Barrier, which is why Solid Barrier isn't also as good as it once was, because it's like, okay, well, instead of Solid Barrier, every 15 seconds, I could just use a Vanish Step and get the same effect pretty much as Solid Barrier would give you. Defense Step is so good that it just makes, I feel like, most of these other cards obsolete. Like, it is what it is. Like, this card could be good in certain characters, but it again is also very situational. You have to land an enemy hero attack with 2 skills within 2 seconds. This is like really good for like certain situations, but that's really it. You're not gonna really be using this card most times. Guardian Angel, you get what? I think it's only like 20-25% damage reduction, and you reduce damage from allies, but you have to be around them in team fights. And it's just better off everyone goes Defense Step. It really is. Like, this is just not nearly as good as Defense Step. Backstab also got nerfed, right? I guess I should just like kind of be ranking these my bad chat. Guardian Angel, I think it's kind of bad. I would put Guardian Angel down here. It's not a good card. Backstab, I still think it's a decent card, right? We talked about it earlier. Then the only comparable card is this, because it's also just giving yourself an extra Vanish. And certain characters may actually prefer double Vanish over Defense Step. It's not a very common thing, but sometimes they might. Like, I think a character like Kale could actually utilize this a lot better than Defense Step. A character like Piccolo, characters who have like very low HP, or maybe you're just trying to get out. Like, another character I think you could utilize is Hit. Double Vanish, just like really good for certain characters. Maybe you're trying to rat. But even then, this technically has gone a little worse thanks to Art of Decoy, because of how good Art of Decoy is right now. But like, both of them are still good cards. And the thing about this is that it's a very, very, very easy condition. You just vanish and you get it. Well, as this, you technically do have to be obstructed. So if an enemy understands how this card works and they don't purposefully obstruct you, if they can, then you won't really get the use for this. But this is just, oh, I vanish and I just get my extra vanish, right? So that's something about it. But that's it pretty much. I feel pretty confident in this list. I mean, for the most part, I think you could very consistently use cards even from A tier, and then like kind of B tier and below are very, very niche. But like A tier and above, I think are cards you can consistently use. So that's a good thing. But either way, hope we get more divine cards as well. Let's switch over to the game and end things off. So we'll be taking a look at my presets here. So I kind of set them up in like order of like, okay, this is kind of like what I would run for DPSs, for tanks and technicals or whatever, right? This is more of a damage orientated build, these first two here, where I have a Giant Slayer and Prepare to Die. So right here, there's not much of a difference. It just depends on what type of character I'm running. If I'm running a more burst damage character, I'll run Giant Slayer. If I'm running a character that is more so continuous damage, I will run Prepare to Die. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. Then this is if I want some extra defense, right? So if I'm like, oh, continuously Super Saiyan 3 Goku just keeps destroying me, or a character like Kale with burst damage, if she's like on super start, she has like full snowball stacks, like it could be really annoying. Maybe I do want barrier for the extra defense. Even Kale could use this herself actually, which is really funny. It's situational, but it could work. You could switch out the third card for double vanish though, and you're able to do that when you're in battle. You're able to just like go in and just switch it out, or you could just turn off auto cards in the middle of battle anyways. That's fine too. Now these cards, again, we see a lot of build up here, which is really funny. This is if I want a little more defense. Certain characters that are DPS may want defensive abilities. Let's think of Topo. Topo is a character who I think is actually pretty decent in the meta right now. He wants build up stacks because he needs to survive in battle. He needs to basically out sustain the enemy. So you want him to have build up for the extra defense. But then I think Prepare to Die could actually be really good on him because he does continuous damage. Or even a character, let's think of Cell. Cell doesn't really benefit that much from Steel Skin, and I think he's more of like a damage focused tank in a sense. So at least he allows you to make a lot of really good plays, and I think he can actually do pretty decent damage himself once he's transformed. Prepare to Die could be really good at him. Then we have like Build Up, Giant Slayer, Defense Step as well. This is a situational card even more so than I think of this right now, especially with the Prepare to Die getting buffed. You would use this on tank characters, I think, in the past, but now you're probably going to be using this more often with Prepare to Die. But again, it is situational. Sometimes certain characters may want to go full defense like Bardock, right? This is also an option for tanks here, where you're trying to go for riding strategies. I think this could arguably even be good for Cell as well, honestly. But like this card could be good for... I'm trying to think of a tank that could really use this. Even like Zamasu, maybe even? Like if you're a character that has hard time escaping fights or just don't have that much mobility, you could use this card here. And even like technicals could actually also use this build. So let's say Android 17, I think even Ultimate Gohan, Frieza could use this. Like so many technical characters will really use this build the most, and that's why I have it here. But yeah, this is mostly just for Bardock and Caulifla, but Bardock is the best tank, so that's why I have this here, just like set in. You never know what other character may also want Steel Skin, and depending on the situation, you may want to use Steel Skin regardless. So again, that's why I have this here, just a full defense setup. You also get all defense increase here, which is a good thing from having all 3 defense cards. And I feel like great, like the defensive cards right here, they're the only cards that you really can consistently go like that full like level. I mean, you could go like full blue and full red as well, but I just don't think they're gonna be as good as like mixing and matching the different cards. This is just pure rats. If you want to continue to hit enemy God of Destruction towers and get out for free, you have this. If you're a tank, you could also use Tau. That's pretty much it. But keep in mind, if you're a tank, you're sacrificing survivability for the escapage, so you might not be that great defense, which is a big deal. Then this is mostly just for, let's say, maybe hit or maybe Trunks. This is like kind of like the Trunks build. I like using Trunks, but this is just an extra slot. I don't know. These are just a bunch of different cards that I think could work well together. You can test them out, see which characters you like them for, which you don't like them for, but that is it. Let me know what you guys are thinking about Divine Combo cards. I appreciate you guys for watching. A longer video, but it is what it is. Catch you guys next time.